We are live.
All right, so that's right, I was starting.
Yeah.
All right. So, sorry, I forgot what I was doing, much like some of the teams that happened on this Game 7 Sunday
Yeah.
that we were supposed to have. So, the Suns are up 3-2 on the Mavericks and the Bucks are up 3-2 on the Celtics. And statistically, 82% of the time, the winner of Game 5 when you're up 3-2 goes on to win the series. We were all set for an epic Game 7 Sunday, and both teams ended up in horrible blowouts. So we asked the question, what happened to the Suns and the Bucks?
Well, they blew it. Bottom line. But I think so. I'm going to start with the Bucks. I think what happened with them was in a game seven, they really missed Chris Middleton, especially because they were away, playing in Boston. I think they could have used Chris Middleton, and if they had him in the series, I think they would have won. Even if it went to a game seven, I think they probably would have won if they had Middleton because it just seemed like they did not have enough offense. And Giannis was trying his best. He didn't have the best shooting night, but I mean, he still had 25 points and 20 rebounds. And then,
Yeah, that's not a bad game to me.
yeah, and but I feel like no one else could produce anything because what they scored 81 points or 89 points. I can't remember.
They finished with 81. It
Oh
was
yeah, 81.
109 to 81 was the final score.
So Giannis had about 30% of the points, and I just feel like they couldn't get any other offense going. And so they could have really used Chris Middleton. I don't hold this against Giannis because I was really impressed that he even took him to a game seven. And the fact that Kevin Durant couldn't even win one game against this team. So I don't hold anything against Giannis on that. But overall, very disappointing that they couldn't win one of the last two, considering we both had them in the finals.
Well, it's even more disappointing because we had the Suns and the Bucks. That was both of our finals predictions. We had
Yeah,
different winners, but yeah, I'm unless you're done, I'll
I'm done with the Bucks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so to piggyback on with the Bucks, so Giannis averaged the most points, rebounds, and assists of all players on both teams in that series. So I am not going to fault him at all, and they have a legit excuse that they didn't have Chris Middleton. I think I want to give more props to the Celtics for bouncing back
yeah,
because a few days ago when we made our last video, everyone just kind of assumed, oh, this series is over with the Celtics are done. They have let all Celtics fans down
yeah,
since like 2018. Everybody thought, oh, they're right there, and then that was it, right? And so to be down 3-2, this reminded me of when LeBron James was on the Miami Heat in 2012, and they were down 3-2 to the Boston Celtics, and he went into Boston, had an amazing game 6, then won game 7, and they went and made the finals and won.
yeah,
That was what this reminded me of with Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum has arrived. He is a legit bona fide superstar, and everybody better put some respect on his name
yeah.
because
I
yeah,
agree.
he because this was what was interesting because the defining moment of that series, I think, was the fourth quarter of Game 6 when it was still tied neck and neck, and every time Giannis scored, Jason Tatum matched him tit for tat,
Yeah,
and then the Celtics just had a deeper team,
yeah,
because the Celtics' second best player was not injured.
yeah,
Now, granted, when Jaylen Brown was injured last year in the playoffs, Jason Tatum's second best player, their teammate, they didn't win a series. It was,
yeah,
they lost to the Nets in, I think it was 5.
yeah.
So, um, so huge difference it makes this year. I want to credit um,
Ime
Udoka,
Udoka.
Ime Udoka. I think I remember it. I'll remember it sometime. I want to credit him for the changes he made, and he prepped to go into Milwaukee and win the game 6. I feel like once they won that, then it was was pretty much, I don't want to say it was over because they still had Giannis,
Yeah.
but that was like the biggest hill to overcome,
Well,
was
yeah,
that
with
game
winning
6
all
in
the
Milwaukee. And
yeah.
some people want to, give the Bucks flack for not trying to get home court advantage. And I'm like, I don't think it would have mattered
No.
because you still had home court advantage in that game 6
Yeah,
and
exactly.
didn't seal it. So, if
Yeah.
you didn't seal it then, it's even harder to win in Boston.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, Giannis, I'm still giving Giannis all the love and respect. He's still the best player in the world. They just came up short.
Yep.
Um,
Now on to the bigger story.
How
The
we can end the video here?
yeah.
No, just kidding. As a Suns fan, as I've been saying, there's probably a compilation we can make. As a Suns fan, as a Suns fan, as a Suns fan, as a Suns fan.
Yeah.
I've said it 100 times. Let everybody know I was rooting for the Suns. Yeah, I have a lot to say. Blake, do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Because
I just thought, I mean, basically what happened with the Suns, in my opinion, was they obviously choked, but they didn't have the best player in the series because obviously that's Luca, and I think they bit off more than they could chew when they were making fun of Luca, talking all this smack, and then it, I mean, it backfired on them, and they couldn't keep their end of the bargain. They totally choked, and I think Chris Paul is one of the worst players under pressure ever because I mean he's blown more 0-2 leads than any other player, and I think he's blown more 3-1 leads than any other player.
I don't know about the 3-1, but I know he has blown 2 of them.
Yeah, well,
But you can thank Doc Rivers for that. So,
yeah, that's
I mean,
true. Well, but
um,
not really
but Paul,
because
yes, was on that.
yeah, and so I just think he is one of the worst players in under pressure, and I think Devin Booker is not quite as good as everyone thought he was. Because I think he has been overrated the whole year. I don't really like Devin Booker, so maybe I'm just biased, but I think I mean he got fifth place in MVP voting. I don't think that was deserved, and I think he's still a great star, but he's not on Jason Tatum's level. He's not on Luca's level. He's not on Giannis's level, or even like John Morant's level. I think he's like the tier below, and they don't really have a superstar because Chris Paul's too old and he chokes. So that's basically how you end up losing by 79,000.
Yeah. Um, uh, yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Um, there was one thing. Do you remember a few times ago I said the Suns got to be careful because they've started chirping. They've turned into chirpers because Chris Paul has that effect. He'll
Yeah,
start chirping, mouthing off to the refs, and every team he's ever played for, when they start chirping, they fall apart and implode. And I was worried about that, but I didn't think it would happen this quick. And they fell apart. Also, going back, Luca was definitely hands down the best player in that series, but the Bucks also had the best player in that series, and they still lost.
that's
So I would
true.
have thought the Suns, being the better team in theory,
Yeah,
could have overcome it. Now, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna put this in a historical context first before I rant to each individual player, and I can let them know how disappointed I am in each of them. But first, in a historical standpoint, this is the worst loss in the history of the NBA and the ABA. In the history of basketball, this is the worst loss ever. Not in terms of the deficit, but in terms of the stakes that were set and how bad they choked. It would have been one thing if they had lost in 7 and it was a close game. Then it's like, oh, that's a tough loss. But man, what are you going to do? Luca was amazing, right? But you
yeah,
guys went out fighting. You were up 3-2, and then you go into Dallas, and then you come back home and you lose by a combined total of 60 points. in both games. You are outscored by 60 points in 8 quarters. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then, oh, what was I going to say? Oh, and you do it at home. um, anyways, it's the worst loss ever. You were 8 games ahead of second place in the NBA,
Yeah.
and you lose this in the conference finals?
You mean
Are
the
you kidding
conference
me? I
semifinal?
mean, conference semifinals. Yeah, this wasn't even the conference finals yet. So, in the historical context, the for real biggest blowout ever in a playoff game was the Denver Nuggets blowing out the New Orleans Hornets in 2009. The final score was 121-63. It was a 58-point loss. It's the biggest loss ever. Guess who was on that losing team?
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. And he was a young guy then. Now he's an old guy, and it comes back to bite him. So that's actually the worst point loss. But this is the worst overall loss ever. Like, when a team collapses from here on out, they are going to compare it to this 2022 Phoenix Suns team.
Well,
And go
and
on.
the fact that the Mavericks, it's not like this was a 1 and a 2 seed or any, like, the Mavs are a 5th seed and they
They're
still,
fourth.
oh, they were 4,
They're
Jazz were
fourth.
5th.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, they're 4th seed, and like they just completely dominated in ways I've never seen.
You scored 27 points in a half. Luka Doncic had 27 points by himself at the half. At one point, that game 7 was a 46-point blowout. It ended up finishing less than that. But
Yeah,
anyways, so of teams that have won 64 teams in the NBA and not made the
64.
conference finals, 64 wins, yeah,
Yeah,
who have won 64 times in the regular season and didn't make the conference finals. There's 2 other teams. It was the 2007 Dallas Mavericks, who lost to the 8th seeded Golden State Warriors, the We Believe, led by Baron Davis, which it's
oh,
kind of very similar because the Dallas Mavericks the year before had made the finals and lost in 6. And
oh
then
wow,
the next year, they're the number 1 seed and they lose to the We Believe Warriors. But that series was lost in 6, and Dallas was never ahead. It was like they never were ahead in the series,
yeah,
like they were down 1. And yeah. Anyways, then the other team is the 2016 Spurs, which won 67 wins and somehow finished as the 2 seed, because it's the only time in NBA history a team has won 67 games and not been the best team in the NBA or favorite to win the championship, because it was the same year the Golden State Warriors won 73 wins.
yeah,
So, I mean, it was still a lot. Like, they ended up losing to the Thunder in 6 again, but never led once again in the series. They were never up,
yeah,
and so this is the biggest collapse ever. And the fact that it happened after their biggest opponent, the Milwaukee Bucks. I thought the Milwaukee Bucks were the team that had the strongest chance of beating the Suns, and they
yeah.
were gone. I was like, oh yes, we got it. This is it, you know.
Uh,
And they choke. All right, so um, I actually have found out that I cannot wear any Phoenix Suns memorabilia. I can, however, wear this because the owner of the Suns plays for the Dallas Mavericks. So
there we
I
go.
can wear this and support them. But until the Phoenix Suns win a game, I can't walk around with any Suns memorabilia out of the shame you brought to the whole city and every single fan. Now I want to rant to each individual player. Okay. First, I'm going to start with Devin Booker. After Devin Booker did the Luka special,
Yeah,
guess what? Guess how many 3-pointers he made in
0,
that? Yeah, he
right?
made no threes after that. He had 22 points in the 9 quarters after that, 11 turnovers, and shot 22% from the field. Absolutely atrocious. Somebody performed the Heimlich on this man
Yeah,
because he
that's
choked so hard. I don't ever want to hear that Devin Booker deserves to be an all-star or a starting off. No. Devin Booker can average 40 points a game next year. He still shouldn't be an all-star. because of this loss. All right. Devin Booker, if you spent more time practicing being double teamed instead of complaining about it in the offseason, maybe you could have scored a basket.
Literally. Oh, just let me know when you're on to Chris Paul because I have something to say. Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah. Well, now I'm going to move on to Chris Paul. So you can.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first if you want.
Well, I was just because I mean, we had basically stopped watching the game once it was a 40-point deficit, and I looked at the box score after and saw that Chris Paul had scored like 10 points, and I was like, I don't remember him making anything. And apparently 9 or 7 of his 10 points came in the fourth quarter when they were already down by like 40.
Okay, so he gets to say he finished with 10.
Yeah, but really he had 3 points when the game actually mattered.
There's a stat I forgot. At halftime, the big three, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, had a combined 3 points, and they were all free throws.
Were they all Chris Paul's?
Oh, they probably were Chris Paul's because he had 3 points. Yeah. So absolutely atrocious. They had, and those 3 points were from Chris Paul free throws because they hadn't made a field goal.
And I think almost all of Devin Booker's points came in the fourth quarter too, when Dallas had put in their third string players.
Yeah,
basically,
it was to save face. It was like we have to still. Let's get to double figures in our individual stats so it doesn't look as terrible. All right. Now, Chris Paul. All right. He was averaging 22 points per game in the playoffs. Then on the day he turns 37, game 3 of the series, they get blown out. And since then, since Chris Paul has turned 37, he averaged 8 points a game. Like Father Time freaking tackled him like Charles Barkley tackling a donut and devoured him. Chris Paul, like, oh my gosh, I've never seen someone age so bad, so poorly, so quickly. Also, he has 5 times where he's been up 2-0 in a series and he's choked it away.
Yeah, he's a choker.
2 more than any other player ever. I would like Chris Paul's name struck from the top 75 greatest players of all time. He should be removed from that because he can't hold a lead to save his life. The best highlight of the entire series with him in it was the State Farm commercial that they played during halftime. That was it. Chris Paul, disappoint me. You chirping Twitter bird. Now, DeAndre Ayton, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, you are not getting a max contract, so you better move on from that. The only team that will give you a max contract is the Detroit Pistons. So if you want to go there, then sayonara, because you played worse. Yeah, you played worse than Rudy Gobert, which I didn't think was possible. I want to apologize to the Jazz for I was ripping on them a lot. You guys got a brighter future than the Suns, because at least when you guys were the 1 seed, you went out fighting and didn't lose like this. This was disgraceful.
Well, and
okay, I think I'm done.
And one team that might sign DeAndre Ayton and give him a max is the Knicks. You can never count them out.
Oh, that's true. The Knicks could sign him. Yeah. But DeAndre Ayton, no max for you. I don't know if I would pay him a quarter to play basketball for me. Was so atrocious. And maybe if the Suns had gotten that out of the way, maybe that clears up some internal conflict. I don't know. But
yeah, because did you hear what Monty Williams said?
Yeah.
I was
why
like,
Ayton didn't play.
Yeah, it was like internal issues or internal whatever decision.
He just said it was internal. That's why he didn't play.
I'm like, okay, what beef do they have? I know they've been having some beef at the start of the season, but I was like, oh,
well, it's
still going on.
It's easy for beef to go away when you're winning a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Another reason this is the worst the Suns, this was the worst collapse in NBA history, is this was their worst loss of the whole season. It wasn't like they had sometime during the regular season they were off and lost by this
Yeah.
much. This was the worst loss of the entire season, and it came when it mattered most. You get what you deserve,
Yeah.
Booker. I'd trade all of them. Here's a fun fact. I went home and I played 2K, and I have a league where I play as the Suns, and I like to play along, and I'm like, I'm going to see if I can be number one and I traded Chris Paul and Devin Booker right away. I'm like, I can't play as them again. Not for a while.
They can trade they can trade Devin Booker for Russell Westbrook. Lakers will take him.
I was talking with my roommate and I said they should trade Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, true.
Russell Westbrook would have at least given some energy and some effort. And
yeah, he would have
it
at
worked
least
for the
shot
Lakers
ball,
too, because Chris Paul could facilitate for the Lakers.
Yeah, it's true.
And Chris Paul is, kind of young for the Lakers, so it would work well.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't be the oldest player.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was rough. It was a rough weekend, but I think I'm done. I think I'm done venting.
Well,
I got my jokes out of the way. I hope they were funny.
well, I was laughing, so I guess that matters.
Yeah, this is